The pro-EU Hungarian opposition leader, Peter Magyar, a former insider of Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's Fidesz government turned defector, has emerged as Orbán's most serious challenger to break his 16 years in power, with polling over the last year showing Magyar leading by double digits. This week, the election campaign officially kicked off, with Orbán receiving a visit from the US Secretary of State, hoping that an endorsement from his ally would boost his electoral chances. Meanwhile, Magyar met with several European leaders at the Munich Security Conference, as he hopes to reset Hungary's strained relations once in power, and officially launched his election campaign, telling thousands of supporters at a rally in Budapest, "We're standing on the threshold of victory." So in this video, we'll take a look at Magyar's meteoric rise, how likely the newcomer is to win the April election, and what this could mean for Europe. Never miss an episode and always feel in the loop by subscribing and ringing the bell. To understand Magyar's rise to power, we need to go back to February 2024, when a government child abuse scandal catapulted Magyar into the role of a leading opposition figure. After a series of high-profile interviews, public appearances, and the release of a leaked recording with his ex-wife and former justice minister alleging corruption, Magyar rapidly gained national attention. In a striking breakthrough, Tisza won nearly 30% of the vote at the 2024 European election, and in late 2024 overtook Fidesz in the polls by campaigning relentlessly on an anti-government, anti-corruption platform. Throughout 2025, numerous government scandals have continued to chip away at Orbán's rule, the most recent and notable being the cover-up of toxic poisoning at the Samsung battery plant in the Hungarian town of Good. Meanwhile, Magyar continued to lead in the polls, securing a significant 10-point lead. And as we see it, there are at least 3 reasons why Magyar has found more success than previous opposition figures. First, Magyar is drawing support not only from traditional opposition voters, but also from disillusioned conservative Fidesz supporters. His broadly conservative policy platform mirrors many Fidesz positions, including on migration, and he has largely avoided the topic of LGBTQ+ issues altogether. Tisza's economic agenda also echoes Orbán's big spending approach, but goes further, with pledges like higher pensions, an increase in the salaries of government employees in education, child protection and social care services, and to double family allowances. Combined with a strong anti-corruption message, this lets Magyar look like a fresh alternative without alienating conservative voters. Second, Tisza is a single party, not a fractious opposition coalition. By refusing to align with established opposition figures, Magyar avoids their baggage and can present himself as a new and untainted figure, despite his past with Fidesz, and has thus been able to gain support from left-wingers who abandoned the fractured opposition. Third, and most importantly, Magyar has been able to resonate with unaligned voters frustrated about rising living costs. For context, the economy has turned sharply against Orbán in the last few years. Hungary was hit hard by inflation in 2022-2023, peaking at 25%, which crushed real wages and left Hungarians at the bottom of the EU for purchasing power. To shore up support, Orbán has run large deficits to fund targeted giveaways. This spending, combined with the fact that the EU has frozen billions of euros in funding over democratic backsliding and rule of law concerns, meant that Hungary ran a pretty massive deficit, representing 4.9% of GDP in 2024, which has only pushed up inflation and stifled growth. Magyar has pledged to fix the economy by tackling endemic corruption, which saw Hungary placed first in the EU as the most corrupt member state for the 4th consecutive year in 2025. As well as restoring the rule of law. Magyar argues that Hungary would be able to save a ton of money lost through inflated public procurements, and will in turn be able to unlock those frozen EU funds. This would also restore investor confidence and drive down the country's high debt service cost, which spiked at a record 11.1 billion euros last year, meaning that in the future more money could be spent on social transfers and public services, not just servicing debt. However, with 2 months left until the general election, the path to gaining control of Hungary's parliament is still a long and tricky one. This is especially because over the past decade, Orbán's government has introduced a series of electoral reforms that systematically tilt the playing field in Fidesz's favour, such as redrawing district boundaries to benefit rural, pro-Fidesz areas. More recently, the campaigns took an ugly turn, with the threatened release of a sex tape allegedly involving Magyar, which critics have described as a return to Russian-style smear tactics. And while things have turned ugly, these moves don't appear to have dented Magyar's standing in independent polls. Even worse for Orban, he can't readily rely on international allies for a late boost either. While he may have hoped that Donald Trump's return to the White House would have strengthened his hand, Trump's confrontational approach to his allies and his attacks on European sovereignty have proved controversial internationally, including among Hungarian voters sensitive to questions of national autonomy. Meanwhile, the suspension of Russian gas deliveries to Hungary has weakened one of Orban's long-standing political arguments, that his close ties with Moscow guarantee cheap and secure energy supplies. If Magyar does manage to pull through then, this would of course be great news for the EU. Under Orban, Hungary has been the bloc's perhaps most disruptive member, and Brussels is hoping that Magyar's pledge to reset relations would translate to fewer institutional standoffs. It will be particularly great news for Central and Eastern European realignment, as Magyar has said that he wants to repair Hungarian-Polish relations and revive the Central Eastern European Visegrad Group. However, in several policy areas, Magyar echoes elements of Fidesz's European policy, which leaves a lot of space for the two to continue butting heads. For instance, on the topic of Russia and Ukraine, although he has described Moscow as the aggressor and told the Financial Times that he would seek an immediate ceasefire in coordination with EU partners, he's also said that he would not fundamentally reverse Hungary's policy of withholding military support from Kyiv, or completely severing ties with Russia. He also firmly opposes fast-tracking Ukraine's EU accession. Energy policy could prove to be another flashpoint. Magyar has indicated that Hungary would phase out its reliance on Russian energy only by 2035, placing him on a potential collision course with the European Commission, which aims to eliminate Russian gas and oil imports by 2027. While on migration, Tisza continues to reject relocation quotas and maintains a hard line on border protection. Sovereignty issues will also be another big stumbling block. Most recently, Tisza's MEPs broke ranks with their European People's Party and supported referring the Mercosur agreement to the Courts of Justice of the EU over concerns of the potential harm done to Hungarian farmers. All in all, while Magyar has pledged to adopt a more constructive tone towards Brussels, deep policy disagreements with the EU will not vanish overnight. Still, European leaders are likely hoping that under Magyar, disagreements will be managed through dialogue rather than through vetoes, prolonged blockages, and heated standoffs. Clearly, the current state of the world is plagued by uncertainty and risk. And just while you've been watching this video, your personal information may have been sold or published online without you even knowing about it. And you might just think, well, what's the harm in a few spam calls? But unfortunately, it's not that simple. It might be scary, but scams and identity theft both start with your personal data being exposed online. So that's why we turn to Incogni. Incogni expertly tracks down and removes your data from multiple sites so that your personal information can't be bought or sold by bad actors online. No longer will your data pop up on online directories, people's search sites, or commercial databases for everyone to see and abuse. They work on your behalf to request your personal data removal, and even conduct repeated removal requests so that you can remain in control. You can even send Incogni sites that expose your data, and they'll send removal requests on your behalf, or assist in you opting out on your own with their custom removals feature. And it's even impacting parts of your life that you never thought about. For example, your health insurance could actually raise your rates just based on your online activity, particularly the data that you enter into health apps. Insurance companies can easily buy that data and decide for themselves just how healthy you are, without you even getting a say. From your phone number to your political affiliation, Incogni can help you find it all and remove it from the internet for good, keeping you protected from the threats you might not even be aware of. Because if they can't find you, they can't harm you. There's no better time to start protecting yourself. So create an account with our link in the description, grant Incogni the ability to work on your behalf, and sit back as they make you safer. Plus, by using code TLDRnews at checkout, you can get an exclusive 60% off their annual Incogni plan. And there's absolutely no risk either with their 30-day money-back guarantee.